everybody, and welcome to Hex Token channel. Hey, welcome. Yeah. Hope you guys are going to enjoy today's session. We're going to do top 5 cryptos to watch in 2023. That's the top 5 crypto to watch in 2023. It's going to be a bit of fun. And of course, we're going to be looking for some goodies. We're also going to cover a lot of the top 10 as well. So stay tuned for all that. We're going to get stock market, then crypto, and then, of course, get into all our favorite projects, as well as a few insights around Hex Conference and Pulsechain. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see who's in the house. We got Sandy Beach. Hey, Sandy Beach. Good to see you. One of our community moderators. Always good to see Sandy in the house. We got Groot as well. Hello, Hexkins. Yeah, boy. Hey, good to see you, Groot. And, of course, Lies Beneath. Hello, how are you today? Very, very good. Of course, the ultimate strategy of this channel is Hex, EHEX, PLS, and PLSX for the win. Absolutely. We're going to be talking more about that today. And, of course, Bright Light's in the house. Hey, guys. Good to see you, Bright Light. High Stakes Hex says, how are we doing, Superman? Good to see you. Very good, thanks, High Stake Hex. Very good indeed. Our summer's not too summery at the moment. The last couple of days have been a bit overcast, a bit wet. It's reasonably warm, but it's not. Where's the sunny days gone? We've only had a few of those so far this summer. So we need to get our fair share of sunny days. Dank's in the house there. Hey, Dank, good to see you in the house. And Ted Nelson as well. Evening, everybody. Good to always see Ted. And, of course, Ted there, a Hex Token channel member. Lies Beneath, also a Hex Token channel member in the house there. And Sandy Beach as well. So good to see the members in the house. And Superman. I love the bear market, says Dank. Yeah, well, it's pretty good timing. You can pick up a lot of crypto positions in the good assets, and that's what you need to look at. I'm going to be doing a video coming up. So I'm not going to give you the title. I'm going to be doing a video, and hopefully that will be of use to some people that are relatively new to crypto, or people that have been in crypto for a while, maybe have fallen into the chat, which is easy to do. It's easy to do, so stay tuned for that video. Now, I was supposed to put my financial video out yesterday, didn't do it, so I'm going to have to do it today. So you might end up getting 2 short-form videos later on today from me. Wookie in the house, your Jedi is in the house. Thanks, Wookie, always a pleasure. And, of course, a fellow Kiwi and one of our community moderators as well in the chat. So very, very cool. Sandy Beach says, hello, Hex Token, everybody. A big shout-out from Sandy. So very cool. Hey, look, that's pretty cool. Let's get into it. I'll try and leave a timestamp after the video. I hope you guys enjoy that. Let's get into the stock market today. And, of course, we're in the new year now. It's currently the 5th of January, and it is 12:34 p.m. here on Thursday in good old New Zealand, at the bottom of the world, from the future, pretty much. And, of course, a lot of you are still on the 4th of January, but it's still very early in the year. And, of course, we're going to get into I think it's the second day, isn't it, of the stock market, maybe third day. What is it? The third day of the stock market? No, second day of the stock market, I think. So Dow ends higher on dip buying into close after Fed minutes. So the Federal Reserve minutes did come out on Wednesday. And, of course, Dow ends higher on dip buying. So that's kind of cool. Let's have a look at the indicators. We've got the Dow Jones Industrials. It's up 0.4%. And, of course, up 133 points to 33,269. Now, I did say, in December, I said that January is our window of opportunity, that we may get some nice reprieve. So it's going to be a nice sort of month, barring anything unexpected with something in the financial market. It will be a reasonable month. It's a window of opportunity because we don't have the Fed rate hike until February. So I think this is, and we're seeing a bit of this sort of upbeatness in the markets, right? Stock and crypto. So it's kind of cool. We've got the S&P 500 up 75. Well, is it 0.75%, 29 points there to 3,852. And the Nasdaq, of course, with all the tech companies in it, is up 0.7 of a penny, which is 0.7%, by 72 points to 10,458. So they're our leading US indices there. And, of course, all green on, risk on, and green days. We like that. We like that for sure. Yesterday wasn't too bad. It was a little flattish, but it was slightly green yesterday, if I recall. So that was kind of cool too. So we've entered the new year pretty nicely. We didn't get really a good Christmas rally at all. In fact, we got more the other way. And, of course, we got an angry Santa rally or something. I don't know what you'd call it. That's pretty much it. The dollar index is down slightly versus its trading partners at 104. And, of course, that means, maybe the commodities have moved. Maybe they haven't. We got oil actually has moved a little bit. Let's have a look at actually oil is down 5%, down $4. Wow. Down $4, continuing to slide at $4.15. $78 is the Brent crude oil there, down $4. And, of course, West Texas is even at the moment. So pretty much flat at 73.41. So if we have a look at the Brent oil over the last month, let's do that. $78. So we started the month up at $86, and it's down to 78. So what's that, $8 or something like that. So that is the decrease. Gold, however, is up by $1.25, and that is at 18.61. Silver is up 4 cents to $23.95. We'll see whether silver decides to try and break through that $24 to $28 mark. That'd be a lot of buying power. But we're still keeping silver on the list of ones to watch. That's pretty much it. Let's have a look into the commentary. The Dow Jones closed higher Wednesday after swing between gains and losses as investors digested the Federal Reserve December minute meetings, signaling high. Now this is very important. So signaling higher for longer rates and data showing a tighter labor market that stoked fears of a wage-driven pickup in inflation. We've been talking about that continually on this channel. And of course, it's that old labor market. Remember, there's really 3 sectors I've been looking at. 2 of them have been doing pretty well. Goods market and, of course, property services. And, of course, they've been doing pretty good in terms of pulling back. But the non-property services sector with the labor market has been stubbornly high, right? So they want to trade off inflation for employment, basically. That's kind of where we're heading. But, of course, it's been stubbornly high at the moment. Now, we've got this is the key thing, is signaling higher rates for longer. So there's 3 phases, remember. There's raising interest rates. And, of course, we think we're going to end soon, maybe by March. And then, of course, how long, second phase is how long does those rates stay up? Because that's really what the absolute level is really what's going to start impacting the real economy. That's what we're looking at. And then, of course, the third phase is the actual pivot when the Fed actually goes from a contractionary policy to a expansionary one, and then actually has that true pivot where it actually decides to decrease rates. Maybe it also does stuff around the monetary supply as well. Remember, they do have a few tools. The 2 big ones, of course, monetary influence and monetary supply, and, of course, the interest rates. So let's get into the commentary there. Fed members favored a restrictive policy stance for a sustained period. So it looks like that phase 2, that holding the absolute rate up there, could be quite high. Now, this is all subject to every month with the financial results coming around about inflation, around employment, wages, and consumption, all that sort of stuff. So it is going to be adjusted every month. So we really trying to follow the trend here to see whether this higher rates for longer. This longer rates actually stays up, actually holds true, because they may change their worldview on that. Until inflation was on a sustained path downwards towards 2%. So they may not even get to 2%, but if they see a sustained a downward path, so let's say every month they sort of see some chipping away at that inflation, then that could end up changing their sentiment. And, of course, that could bring us down earlier. So that's kind of the interesting phrase at the moment. So at the moment, still looking at a longer rate hike, but maybe not going above that terminal rate of 5, maybe 5.25%. Obviously, very important, the difference between those two. So we'll keep watching that, which is likely to take some time. The Fed's December minute meeting showed on Wednesday. So at the moment, that is the narrative at the moment, that those rates will probably stay up longer than people expect. Now, we're typically expecting the fourth quarter of the 23. And, of course, some people expecting that not right to the end. Some people expecting it maybe September, October. But, of course, this is kind of indicating towards the end of the year, 2023. And, therefore, a lot of people are talking about recovery in 24, the bull market in 24. That's where you kind of get that narrative from there at the moment. So this is where we are. The minute stoked fears of higher for longer rates, just as data highlighted a slower than expected dent in the labor market. So obviously those results with the labor market, they're supporting a longer, higher rates for longer. I'm not sure about higher, but longer rates in any case. They may very well change their view on the rates. Instead of being 5.1 in their SEP forecast, and they could end up going higher. I mean, it's always possible. They often overshoot, and they often go higher rates than they need, and they go for longer than they need. So that is typically the case. So we've got to be conscious of that as well. The U.S. Labor Department's latest job openings and labor turnover survey, the JOLTS report, a measure of labor demand, showed job openings in November fell less than expected to 10.5 million compared with expectations of 10 million. So that's still quite strong, right? JOLTS report was very strong. Jeffrey said in a note warning that without a substantial reduction in labor demand, the Fed will not be comfortable pausing, let alone cutting rates. So they will not be comfortable comfortable pausing, let alone cutting rates. And that's our third phase, cutting the rates, third phase there. That's when we get the true pivot. When we're talking about pivot, when we get the true pivot there. Obviously, we have a kind of a phase pivots between those two phases, but that's kind of traditionally what we're looking at there. The U.S. Treasury yields, however, continue to trade in the red, and we're reluctant to price in more aggressive federal rate hikes. I think that's probably a good thing and a right move. Banking stocks, however, shrugged off the fall in Treasury yields, the enemy of net interest margins, as investors looked ahead of the start of the quarterly earnings season in earnest next week. So we've got that coming up next week, and that will probably impact the stock market. Hopefully the crypto market stays uncorrelated to the market and does its own thing, because we've got a window of opportunity there. We don't have an earnings season. We do have obviously activity metrics in crypto, like, you know, for Aave and Compound, things like that, but we don't have the sort of quarterly earnings. Fourth quarter, we have the indirect impact, right? The wealth effect, the income effect. We have those sort of things. Fourth quarter earnings should be decent for most banks in our view, with higher rates and solid loan growth continuing to benefit net interest income in the near term, but positive momentum may start to fade. Now, banks always seem to do pretty well. Only in the very worst cases do banks end up doing badly. And typically when they have the worst case, they get bailed out, right? They get bailed out. At least the leading banks, right? The big manipulated players. So that's pretty much it. Citigroup, SVB Financial Group, and Zions led the gains in financials. If we turn from banks to the consumer discretionary, Tesla climbed 5% following a 12% plunge a day earlier, while Bath and Body Works jumped 10% following a price upgrade to $52 from $50 from Piper Sandler. Travel and leisure stocks were also in focus as cruise stocks rallied after Carnival said it would raise its price for US and European guests starting April the 1st. So if you haven't booked your cruise, looks like you're going to pay a little bit more. I don't know, maybe it's a lot more. But anyway, that is what's happening there. Carnival Corporation was up 9% in the Royal Caribbean cruises, and Norwegian Cruise Line holdings were up more than 8% and 5% respectively. So a good day in the office for them. Microsoft Corporation, meanwhile, fell almost 5% after UBS downgraded the stock from to neutral from buy, and of course citing demand headwinds for the company's office and cloud businesses. That's happening with the Microsoft. Now, I haven't been on a PC for ages, so I don't use Windows and stuff like that. I do understand they've got some pretty cool features in their latest one. But yeah, is it Windows 14? I don't even know what the latest Windows number is. Let me know in the chat what the latest Windows is. 14. I just saw some videos there, people saying some really good features. There was one particular mind-blowing feature in there. I don't know what that was, but because I didn't watch the video, but it was pretty interesting. The Micron-led surge in semiconductor stocks helped keep a lid on downside momentum in tech. Micron Technology rallied more than 7% after Daiwa talked up the prospect of higher memory prices on expectations for a rebound in demand in the second half of the year. So that's kind of a wrap-up of the stock market. Let's pivot over to crypto now and look at the latest and greatest. We got some of the news here. We've got Coinbase reaches 100 million settlement with New York regulators. So that's kind of a big deal. Agreement caps regulators' investments into cryptocurrencies compliant with requirements to prevent money laundering. So focus on there. That's a reasonable focus. Don't have any problem with that. US-based cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase has reached 100 million in settlement with New York's Department of Financial Services, the DFS. The exchange and the regulator said in statements on Wednesday. The settlement, which includes a $15 million penalty, caps the regulators' investigation into the firm's compliance with requirements to prevent money laundering. The department found Coinbase treated its onboard requirements for customers as a simple check the box and had not done sufficient background checks. The regulator said Coinbase failed to build and maintain a functional compliance program that could keep pace with its growth. Now, interesting about this is these are some of the problems that FTX had, right? They're just running it like a cowboy shop or something. It was pretty wild and in the Wild West in the early days. If you guys remember trailing the Wild West tracks. Anyway, so this is some of the issues. This is basic management. So it's really weird. I find it really weird. You're getting all these top 5, top 10 university grads that are starting all these big crypto firms, and before they're 30 years old and making billions of dollars. And of course, you're getting all this, but they can't seem to run a business. They got no experience to run a business. It doesn't matter how smart they are. Implicitly, they got no management experience. They're just wild cowboys out in the wild there, out in the prairie lands. This is crazy stuff. Shooting up the old towns and the old keg corral. I don't know. Anyway, enough cowboy analogies there. But there we are. That's kind of where we're at. That failed exposed the Coinbase platform to potential criminal activity. You got to get your systems, your process systems, your legal systems up, and you got to manage the business. You got to keep your bank account separated, between the different accounts, just the normal deposits versus margin trading, things like that. These guys are going to do the proper way. I mean, obviously Coinbase only has more of the deposits and the spot trading, but you got to do that. The exchange has addressed the problem, said Paul Guil, Coinbase chief legal officer, in the statement. Now, it's not like they don't have enough money to pay for the professional managers and process people to get in place, right? In a blog post, Coinbase said the investigation centered on the company's compliance program circa 2018 to 2019, as well as the compliant backlogs as the exchange grew in 2021. And it did grow pretty fast. And that's the other problem when you've got big business and when you have rapid growth, as we do see in these top crypto exchanges and dApps, of course, is managing that as well. And that's normally the founders entrepreneurial, and they don't have the skills. They do not have the skill set. We took NYDF's concern seriously and have taken substantial measures to address this historical shortcomings. Coinbase, a publicly traded firm and one of the largest global crypto exchanges, will pay another $50 million to boost compliant efforts aimed at blocking potential criminals from using the exchange. The company said the deal also requires Coinbase to work with a third-party monitor. Coinbase has been under scrutiny from DFS and other regulators. It has previously disclosed receiving investigative subpoenas and requests from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission for documents and information. So that there is a wrap-up of Coinbase there. But of course, this sort of thing is sort of basics 101. They just should be getting on top of this. It just doesn't bode well there. So that is pretty much the biggest crypto news. There was another little news item around Binance and, of course, purchase of Voyager assets. And apparently the SEC's put a limited submission to limit some activity in that purchase. So that's another item that's sort of out there at the moment. We're going to jump over to the crypto market and have a look at the rankings at the moment. Let's get into that. Before we do that, let's catch up on a few of the people in the chat here. Let's see how we're getting on. Brian says, hashtag new chain yet, dig it boom. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it sounds good. Sounds good. Are you talking about Pulsechain? Hopefully you're talking about Pulsechain. PSI says, yesterday you mentioned that you thought that the first PLSB halvening will be in about 6 months or something. You can track it on the site made by a community member, currently estimated at April the 19th. Are you kidding me? That soon? 4 months, really? I guess, maybe, I guess so. I wasn't sure exactly. I thought it might be a bit longer than that, but April 19th. Okay, let me think about that. That's like almost 4 months. I guess it's not. We're only about a third at the moment. We got all the people mining. There's slightly less ASIC around, unless the ATMs come in. If there's more people mining, most of the ASIC is actually mining at the time. It was only about 600,000 or so that's not being used at mining, which includes probably some speculators and some people that just sit on it. So maybe waiting for the price pump. We'll see. Okay, April 19th. It's cool below PSI. It's probably right. So we'll see. I just thought it would be a bit longer than that. I knew it would be sooner, says Brian. Brian knew all the time, all this time. North Face says Pulsechain coming this year anyway. I hope says a North Face. And of course, I think we can be highly expectant of that. Cautiously optimistic, but very boldly cautiously optimistic. I did my first HSI auction bid today. I know if I won tomorrow. Nice one, Sandy Beach. Let us know how that goes. That'd be very cool. You can, that's going to be fun to see if you get that. So I hope so. And it'll be a nice little discount. I hope you did your maths on it, Sandy Beach, so that you're getting a good deal. Commingling of funds are not a DeFi problem. What else? Commingling of funds, not a DeFi problem. No, it's not a DeFi problem. Commingling of funds, which is what FTX was doing there. That's the site. Cool. I'll have a look at that later. PSI. I heard PSI says I heard Pulsechain was 100% confirmed for release this decade. It says PSI. That's pretty confident of you there, PSI. That's pretty confident. What else there? We got Brennan says mining has really accelerated for PLSB. It has accelerated. I agree with that. Every 30 days. It accelerates, but I thought we were at about 30 something. Actually, I'll have to pull out the site up. I haven't got the Pulse Bitcoin site up. I must pull it up when I talk about it. PSI says, well, on this decade. That's true. Pulsechain coming out this decade. Thank you. Of course, I did, said Sam H. Nice. Very nice. So I know, but sometimes it can be tempting to bid on auctions without doing the numbers because it's exciting. It's like, oh, let's bid on that. That sounds good. Is coming on Turtle Express, says Christian. Hey, Christian, good to see you. Pulsechain will be a minimum of 5 cents this bull run, I think, or more. I think that's a fair target in the bull run for Pulsechain. I think that's pretty fair. North face. Yes, PLSB halving is a lab estimate, assuming mining remains constant. Could get pushed to May 19th if mining slows. Yeah, okay. I think we can settle on that. Sounds like a pretty good time zone. Hey, it's arbitrary to me, but just based on when I saw it, I was just like, oh, maybe that's still quite a few months away. Anyway, let's get into it. So we got, let's have a look at the market cap at the moment of crypto. So $450 billion. Remember in the bull market, we were over 3 trillion. And there we are, 850 billion, and we're down 64% on a year ago. I have got it on setting on the a year ago settings. That's kind of where we are at the moment. Now, Bitcoin at the moment, we'll go to the daily and have a quick look at the daily stuff. So let's have a look here. We've got Bitcoin at 16,811. That is up 1%. We've got Ethereum having a nice little move here. Remember, I did say January's got nothing really that I can see holding us back in January, unless there's some contagion thing comes out from FTX. We know that Genesis and Gemini are kind of the most public issues at the moment. $1,253 is the Ethereum, up 3.2%. That's really cool. And of course, if we're going to go through these, if I'm thinking about the top 10, and you're thinking about these, obviously worth a lot of money already. They have big communities. They're main chains, most of these, right? Main chains. These are all going to do well, right? In the bull market, I think. This technology is not going anywhere. So we've got $1,253 Ethereum. Obviously, it's going to be a great pick going forward. If you want a more conservative, like the X returns are smaller, right? The upside is smaller compared to the more probable speculative plays. And of course, my top 5 are going to be based on the speculative plays, but with high probability. Well, I think that will have high probability. And so they're going to completely outdo these main chains, right, in terms of X returns. And that's what we're looking at. Mad gains. That's how we're going. So we're going to talk about that in a second. So we've got Ethereum obviously going to do well. We've got Binance Coin that's going to do well as well. That's up 5% today to 258. We're getting a bull market. All these main chains are going to do well. We've got XRP. If they get through the SEC and get a good settlement, and they'll get relisted on a lot of exchanges and other things that got taken off. Even though I don't like this project because they just seem to be able to mint it and dump it from the Ripple organization. They are obviously doing pretty successfully in the international payment system for Ripple. But of course, I really don't like this project. Anyway, it's up 1.2% to 34 cents, 35. That will obviously do well if they get a good settlement. And of course, that could be a pretty decent increase. Actually, you might get quite a couple X's out of that possibly. Dogecoin, of course, is up at 4%. It's at 7.3 cents, and it's number 8. And of course, that's looking pretty good. And of course, this is Elon Musk, Twitter, right? Now, I don't know the time frame that Elon's going to do, but hey, we both know, just like in the Bitcoin play, he's going to front run this, right? So if he's going to make this a payment system on Twitter, which would obviously be massive, we know that he's going to try and compete against YouTube and, of course, some of the other platforms by integrating long format video. And, of course, we see the big influencers like Mr. Beast getting on there, talking to him about that. Hey, if you can get this stuff up and running, if you can give us the incentives as creators, we'll jump from YouTube, at least what they say jump, but they'll actually just add it on. And, of course, YouTube still has a lot of that left-wing bias. Now, it is probably the best platform out of all the platforms, the tech companies that have got left-wing bias. In other words, when I say bias, I mean authoritarian control. Let's not boot around the bush or whatever, beat around the bush. And of course, we've got Dogecoin here at 7.3. Now, if he's going to play this, he's going to run this, and he's going to obviously pick up tons of Dogecoin, right? And then pump the bags on that. Hey, we're going to be adopting this as a payment system on Twitter. Bam, this thing goes up. This thing could be up a lot, right? This could be. I don't want to think about how high this could go. Some pretty insane prices for Dogecoin if that's the case. Once it actually happens. Now, how long is it going to take? It would be also a good way. He's talking about getting into cash flow positive. I can't remember what he said. Was it 9 months, something like that? Obviously, he's fired a huge amount of the staff. Was it 60%, 70%, something like that? Getting rid of all the ideologues in there. And of course, if you've seen any videos of Twitter, these guys were living the dream in there. They had little yoga mats, like yoga rooms, and they would go have. They would have a couple of meetings a day. The rest of it was just leisure and pleasure. It was just like incredible. If you've ever been in the corporate environment, it was hilarious. Anyway, so I guess it's not as fancy as Apple and Facebook places, head offices like that, but it was still pretty silly stuff there. The rooftop, they had a rooftop. It's got all the stuff on the rooftop. It's just crazy stuff, man. Honestly. Most corporates do not run like that. It's just crazy. Anyway, so we have Dogecoin that could really fly. Obviously, if Elon picks it up, of course he's going to front run it, right? Because then he pumps the value. Just another way of covering expenses as well. Given the fact that the people wanting to suppress free speech, including the corporates that all threatening to withdraw advertising, are trying to do that sort of stuff. So way to go. Now he's also obviously not just he's going to move to a subscription business as well, obviously with the blue ticks and everything else. But the payment system in crypto could really flourish on there, people. So keep a watch out for that. Now, obviously, you've got Cardano as well there as well. That's kind of fallen flat, right? But that will do well in a bull market, relatively speaking. But it really hasn't flown, even with the new smart contracts in there. Obviously, I think most people like Hodgkinson quite nicely. He's a really good guy, very obviously educated, and always dropping some good stuff there. Cardano hasn't really quite flown yet, but maybe next time it will. Polygon Matic, of course, is going to do pretty well. Obviously, a super grown, super huge ecosystem built around that. I'd say that's going to do pretty well. We see some of the technology firms also getting involved with Polygon and Binance Coin in particular, looking to use that as well, particularly around the cheaper fees, right? Cheaper fees on that. So there is the Polygon. So those are sort of some ones that are obviously going to do pretty well, right? They're your base conservative investments in crypto. They're top 10, and of course their main chains and stuff like that. They're going to do well. Now, obviously, we're looking for the big X returns. You're not going to get those in here. You'll do well in here in the next bull market, but you're not going to get those big X returns. And so we're going to talk about that. So obviously, top 5 for 2023. Really, we're looking at the following. We're looking at Pulsechain. When Pulsechain launches, you got a new main chain, and that could just jump into the middle here in a very short space of time. Pulsechain has a whole ecosystem. We already know that on CoinGecko, there are tens of thousands of people watching for Pulsechain. It's not even launched yet. It's just got a placeholder and tens of thousands watching them. We know that Richard Hart posts on his Twitter are getting on really really average plain updates on Pulsechain. Plain, and this is nothing of materiality. Are getting 250,000 plus hits on it. I mean, that's the sort of interest that's in play. We also know that people have done polls on what they think is the most exciting chains coming up, and Pulsechain is the top one by a long shot. That's coming up there. So we've seen surveys out like that. So that the interest is out there. We know that people are wanting to see it. So Pulsechain obviously is a big pick for big X returns, and we could get big X returns. We're talking 200 to 300X zone within 6 months. That's kind of the play that we could see. And of course, then on top of that, we've also got pick number two, Pulse X, of course. And of course, we cover this regularly on this channel, but Pulse X, of course, with the $1 billion buy and burn, that is game changer stuff in crypto. And it's not just any ordinary, it's going to be based on harvesting with the AMM bot. The biggest liquidity pools can harvest all the dexes out there, all the big ones, and probably most likely the actual data for V3 as well on Uniswap. So SushiSwap and other dexes is going to be harvested, creating big fat liquidity pools. So that's kind of cool. Now, obviously, we have, this is probably a little bit more controversial. We have the big sacrifices with, there was something like over $600 million sacrificed. That could also support liquidity and, of course, chains as well. So we're looking forward to see where that all ends up. Obviously, no expectations, but that's kind of where we are with the PulseX. $1 billion of trade volume. We could easily see, obviously, harvesting all the big liquidity pools with the AMM bot there. And, of course, locking in the LP as well. That's very important. And, of course, matching that up with stable coins are very important. And, of course, we're going to be looking to have our own 4 to 5 native stable coins as well, not just USDC, USD Tether wrapped in. That's wrapped versions wrapped in. We could end up having those capitulate as well. I suspect that USD Tether and that will capitulate and come on, just like we've seen in other chains. So no surprise there. But in any case, we're going to have our own stable coins with the USDL, BankX, CST, and others that are coming. So that's going to be pretty bullish too for that. So PulseX is going to be amazing. We could have up to 4,000 or 5,000 actively traded pairs. Obviously, the top 1,000 or so could be the most, or top 500. But we could end up having thousands. On that really bullish side, we could end up getting 10,000 actively trading pairs if everything goes to plan. So that's kind of the upside scenario. But in any case, we could be looking at least 2,000 to 3,000 actively trading pairs. That could be pretty cool within a 6-month period, say. So it's going to be fun to see that. Now, obviously, that's going to be fun. And, of course, we're going to see a lot of people wanting to come in for the supporting secondary token for Pulsechain, which is the incentive. That's going to really pull in the big liquidity providers, and they're the ones that go and hunt those farming pools. And of course, they bring in a lot of capital into the system. People forget about the incentive token, and it is deflationary as well. In other words, it has a deflationary curve, and of course, the emissions will reduce over time. We also get a lot of speculators coming in. People wonder why anything has a price. Obviously, Zen at the moment gets the speculators into Zen at the moment. Why do people speculate? Because there's opportunity. Some of them lose, some of them win. It's just the way it goes. They have to make the right calls, and of course, we're going to have that in play as well. So that's Pulsechain number 2. Obviously, number 3 is Hex. We're going to get Hex on Pulsechain as well. And of course, Hex, we're going to have 2 forms of Hex on 2 strong chains, expecting Pulsechain to value up very quickly within a 6-month period. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have various waves, of course, with Pulsechain. We're going to have the initial launch, of course, people come to get their airdrops. We're going to have people wanting to come and get Pulse and PulseX, and of course, get Hex on Pulsechain. So we're going to have that bullishness. But we're also going to have within 4 to 8 weeks later, we're going to have all the major DeFi protocols coming on, like Liquid Loans and of course Fiat and Famous and others that are going to come into the play as well to give us that next wave of fundamentals, which is going to take a lot of people off storm, because they'll think, oh, the initial play was made in the first couple of days, the first 2 weeks, and then they're going to get shock and awe when they suddenly see people start using leverage to leverage up and leverage these prices. So it's going to be fun to see that people get taken off guard there. We'll also have got rid of some of the weekends, and of course, all that pent-up demand that's sitting on the sidelines is going to come in. It's going to be fun to see that out. It's going to be incredibly volatile, but there's going to be a lot of opportunity in there as well. And I should suggest a pretty fast re-rating within the first 3 months. We're going to see a lot of re-rate prices in the first 3 months and absorb a lot of that selling pressure that may be there from certain players. There's always going to be players, including some of the large sacrifices and Pulsechain, Pulsex that sacrifice. So that's always going to be the case. So that's pretty cool. We're going to have obviously Hex on the chain, and we could have some very big liquidity pools in Hex. And that could be due to our centralized ownership of Hex with the Origin account sacrifice wallets. That could end up play. And of course, we've still got those stable coins in Pulsechain. Now, a lot of that speculation on my part, but that's kind of where I feel we're going to lead. Richard Hart has indicated in the past that we could see some pretty fat liquidity pools into Hex as well. And of course, we'll have 2 chains. We'll have ETH and Pulsechain, and Hex on both chains, and 2 passive incomes on 2 strong chains. And of course, linking those liquidity pairs up, we could end up seeing if it's big enough, the liquidity, then we could end up seeing some really strong, stable price relationship there as well. So even some of the biggest independent whales may not be able to move the price too much. So that would be interesting if we could actually see that. That's not a given, of course. We do have bigger factors than just liquidity movements in Hart's law. We have risk on, risk off, and all sorts of stuff. But hey, if they're big enough, maybe that is the holy grail that may be achieved. We'll see. The other side, of course, is we talked about Pulsechain, Pulsex, and Hex. Obviously, on Hex on Pulsechain, and that's going to be pretty awesome. We may see some selling pressure from the retail book. Maybe if some of the larger players on the ETH chain. We'll see how that plays out. Could be a mistake. We'll find out in due course. We'll see, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So those are the top 3. Obviously, 4th here. We're going to get into 4th later on, so stay tuned for that. And of course, number 5 as well. We're going to come up to those next. Top 4 and 5. And these are remember, these are trying to get bigger X's than you would normally just going through the market and going through the top 10, which is obviously a lot of value sitting in these chains when we come back round for that next bull run. And of course, at the moment, that's probably targeting the end of 23 or perhaps the earliest, earliest time frame, end of 23, beginning of 24. That kind of feels like where the market may pivot with the financial interest rates and everything else going there as well. We may see more monetary printing starting up again there too. So we're going to keep watching that as well. So that's kind of a wrap up there of the top 10 and, of course, the 3. We're going to get into the number 4 and 5, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we do that, though, let's get into the chat. We've probably got a few more comments, so we're going to catch up on some of those. Let's go back up the top here. Oh, man, it's been a long time since I've been on Windows, so I think someone made a comment about that. Let's catch up on that, though. Where did I get up to here in the chat? Got up to Turtle there. We got up to PSI there. Let's jump down here. We've got PSI says, thanks, Brian. I think my link would have actually linked, but you guys could see it. Yeah, I didn't see any link myself. I might pull that link up. Maybe tomorrow we might pull that link up. If you guys post it in Discord, I'll probably pull it up for tomorrow. Wookie says, Windows 11, Brian, but Super lives in the future. Yeah, well, I thought it was Windows 14, but it was probably Windows 11. That probably sounds, like I said, I haven't been on Windows for a long time, so I'm out of touch on that. I've really been in the Apple iMac environment for years now. Hex Token PSI could use a spanner to post links in here, please. Oh yeah, let's give PSI a link there to mod. So let's do that. Congratulations, PSI. I haven't given out a moderator for ages, so there we are. Welcome to the moderator team there, PSI. Dank says, I have no clue about what is being built on Cardano, says Dank. Yeah, well, you know, they upgraded the smart contracts, didn't they? And they finally got that put in place, and I guess they've been building. Maybe it's worthy of having a good look. PSI says, working at Twitter sounds a lot like being a YouTube streamer, says PSI. That's hilarious, man. That's hilarious. Acapella says, I sincerely hope RH isn't waiting for the next Ethereum release, because I feel like that would be many more months of integrating the code and testing. Can't they just integrate that at the later time? That was the idea, Acapella. That is the idea, that they just are able to upgrade the proof of stake, given the code should be public, right? So that is the thing. And of course, you need devs to be able to execute the same process that the ETH team would be doing. So you presumably hope they know they can understand it to the same level. So that would be the case. You know, I guess it's if they're going to wait for the Shanghai fork with the ETH withdrawals, then you know, we'll see. We're going to learn a lot about that, I think, going ahead there, Acapella. $1 in 2 years, Pulsechain for L1 is it's possible. Yeah, I'm not. I think that's far too high, North Face. I think that's far too high, that price. It certainly wouldn't be able to hold that price in my view. I'm very bullish up to 10 cents. I kind of feel like that's kind of where I feel. I'm very bullish up to 10 cents, but dollar, that's, if you think about what the market cap would be there. Now, obviously, market cap is relevant. Now, I'm not in the camp where market cap is irrelevant. People do look at, and we've seen that before. So, yeah, it would be very surprising if it ever hit $1. Now, it could spike up there. That'd be unbelievable, but it could do that. But that'd be kind of insane to push that much money into it. But hey, never say never, but I'm just playing probability. And it's sort of 10 cents seems to the top of the range at the moment based on what I've seen out there. But hey, we can always live in hope. I'm just excited to get my FTT copies on Pulsechain. I think it'll reach parity pretty quickly. And of course, what else there? Hex has done a 48 cents easy last bull run, says North Face. Couldn't hold it though. North Face couldn't hold it about 42 days. That was interesting enough. Also at the 10,000x mark approximately. It's actually slightly higher, but yeah, couldn't hold that price. PX, yeah, kids, says Kristen. Paul C says, what sort of X's are you hoping for with Pulsechain Pulsex? I did answer that earlier. Talking about 200-300X there. Probably on the shorter, like there's a different time zones. So I actually think Pulsex may end up being the first super DEX and outperforming, or as I kind of call it, the mega DEX, outperforming the main chain. That could definitely play out longer term. So probably looking at 100x there within the 6-month time frame versus 200 to 300x with the main chain. But then that could switch around after that. So in the next over a 2-year period, that could switch around, and Pulsex becomes the more valuable, relatively speaking. That'd be pretty. That'd be basically like a first of its kind. But with the $1 billion buy and burn, definitely possible. I'm pretty confident we're going to get a lot of that trading activity. That's really what it's dependent on, that buy and burn. Now, obviously, as the price of Pulsex goes up, the dollar value of buy and burn goes down less, but it's still going to be pretty powerful. Dirty Paul says, I like those top 3. Me too. We're getting up to go. We have number 4 and number 5 coming up later, so stay tuned. Just running through these comments at the moment. I won't hold you to any predictions. They are just a best guess, says Paul C. Well, actually, I have a spreadsheet with my best guesses. Yeah, so I've actually, that's kind of where I feel. Brian says, I'm making a lot of it. I had Pulsepad, and I did 300x, says Paul C. PSI says, I'm honored. I'm not crying. I'm just soap in my eyes, says PSI. I don't know. I think I might have to take PSI's moderator away. He's already mocked me twice in the chat already. Sandy Beach is in the house there. Wrench Team. Yeah, Wrench Team says Sandy Beach, Wrench Team. Here is the link if you want to check out later Pulse Bitcoin stats. Okay, right, we'll check that out probably tomorrow. I'll look at that tomorrow. All right, so cool. That is pretty much it. Let's have a look here. We've got Hex at the moment is at 1.94 cents there on the hourly. And this is the Hex chart there. Woo! So this is Hex on ETH chain, of course, looking at Pulse chain as well. We're going to have 2 of them. Two quality market fit product of Hex on 2 chains, ETH and Pulsechain. Does it sound good to you? Passive income on both chains sounds pretty good to me. That's pretty cool. So 1.9. So that is where we are at the moment. Nice little pump there. And what was I going to say about that? I was going to do have a look at the daily. We can have a look at the daily here. So that's the hourly chart, looking pretty good the last quite a few hours now. So look at this chart actually over the last, I don't know if we take it from the spike. Let's just take it from here. We're at 1.77. And over the last 26, so basically a day and 2 hours, we've had almost an 8% gain. And that's gone from 1.777 to 1.916 there on the hourly. So that's a nice little churn up there. We are moving into the Hex conference, which is going to be starting on the 6th of January, running through the 9th. On the 9th, of course, we're going to have keynote speaker Richard Hart. Obviously, there's a lot of community expectation that we'll get some sort of announcement. I think it's anything but something material will be seen as disappointed. That said, of course, everyone would like to hear. I think if the tone's pretty good, and of course, then people will just be happy to hear that Richard's giving an update, generally speaking, just on markets and everything else. We'll see. He'll probably just end up saying no time date, possibly, and of course, no expectations. Software's hard. Maybe just do that. So we'll see. Try to have no expectations. That is one of our cultural principles, as hard as it is. And we'll see. If you have no expectations, everything's upside, right? Everything's upside. So we'll see how we get on. Anyway, it's going to be a bit of fun, and so I think it's great to have him kicking off the year with a keynote speech from Richard. I think that's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. The founder of Hex, and of course will be the founder of Pulsechain when it launches. That is kind of it, 1.94 cents there, so not too bad. So look at the daily as well, and I've got the RSI down the bottom here. So we were in oversold territory for Hex. That was pretty obvious. We had this dramatic fall again, and of course here we are sitting on the RSI at 33. Just entered back into the main zone after being in the oversold territory. Now the price, we had a nice little pump yesterday. Like I say, from 1.785 to 1921. That's pretty good. So let's have a quick look at the results for the 24 hours. We had 183 buys in the top trading pair, which is now back up at 4.5 million liquidity. That's a good sign, right? What we were sitting down yesterday, about 4.8, 4.7, something like that. So we're up 5 million. Sells, we had 130 sells. And this is the first time that we've been able to report a solid 24-hour value. We've had $738,000 buy in the top trading pair versus 489 sell. So nice to see that reverse, right? That's kind of a good thing. So that's pretty cool. So we had 58% buys in terms of number of buys, and we had that translate to 60% buy volume. So that's kind of a cool outcome there. The last 6 hours, that is the buys been 44 versus 40, and the sell volume was slightly higher. But that said, in the last hour, 13 buys versus 5 sells, and $83,000 of buy volume versus 16 sell. And we had a little pump there, as you saw in the last hour. So that's kind of reflecting this data here. So that's kind of cool. The RSI is still on the bottom side, the sort of oversold side. So we've got plenty of room if we want to have a rally. And of course, maybe the Hex conference might maybe deliver something on the 19th, on the 9th of January. Maybe we will be in luck. We'll see. Now, we obviously, let's get into the strategic side of Hex at the moment. So let's get rid of this the RSI and have a look at our wrap up here. So we've been marking all the 3 characters. We've got 3 things. We've got the financial markets. We've got the Hex sort of Pulsechain ecosystem, and then we've got we've also got the some of the catalysts in terms of the Ethereum network. So we're going to talk about that. So we on the 15th September, we had the ETH proof of stake fork that was successful. And of course, since that time, after that, we had 24 days later, we had Richard Hart announce on Hexologist show that they would be forking the proof of stake rather than the proof of work, which is great news and obviously upgradable as with the expectation there. So that means that we'd get all the benefits from all the upgrades. And of course, the proof of stake did not have ETH withdrawals. So it was one of the issues that you have to kind of finish wrapping up there with your proof of stake. And of course, we're expecting that to happen. How many days later? 15. So 181 days, 6 months later, approximately, we're expecting the Shanghai fork to happen after the ETH proof of stake. And of course, that's EIP 4895 with ETH withdrawals. So pretty fundamental. Obviously, they started that with December 2020 doing staking with the old beacon chain and stuff like that. That was running parallel to the proof of work. And they docked that in back there on the 15th September. That's kind of where we are. So that's kind of cool. That's 6 months. But of course, we are waiting for a Pulsechain testnet V3. I've got this coinciding with the end, the last day being the end of the Hex conference. Maybe Richard will give us some sort of indication. He's avoiding timelines now, so I'm not have a lot of expectation for that. But he may eventually, maybe one of these eventual updates, he surprises us with some expectations. Maybe he does. Maybe he says because he's willing to do that. So, but the other side, of course, is the market, right? The market is not at the bottom of the bear, is not yet hit, and of course he's talked about frustrations with all the Bitcoin holdings and not being dumped down. He wants to see it all dump, 11K and pray or lower. That's kind of where he's looking at too. So he's also got that in the back of his mind. He's shown many frustrations around that didn't happen in November. A lot of us thought it probably would happen in November. And of course, after the FTX fallout in particular, it did not happen. Now we're in January, we've got a window of opportunity. There's no reason that I can see for the crypto market to dump down. Maybe February is the earliest time. We'll see when the next Fed meeting is on. It's kind of where we are. In any case, Richard could change the sentiment, particularly the Hex here. We've got a nice sort of green pump here running into the Hex conference, which is about to start on the 6th to the 9th. So you can see we're running in there. We're going to get a little pump into there. We're going to get a super pump if Richard announces anything, even if it's not a timeline. Maybe just, proof testnet V3's coming up. Maybe just say something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But in any case, we were expecting testnet V3 before that speculation about Richard announcing anything. And that is that KDP from Power City said that some devs that they're associated with were talking to the Pulsechain devs, particularly around Pulsex, and said, hey, wait off a few weeks. We may have the testnet out. And that would be the V3 proof of stake testnet, right? And of course, that was kind of exciting. We also saw one of the devs there, which I did a video on, announced that Pulsechain is going to change the world. Richard Hart's going to change the world was the sentiments that was on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, I think it was. Yeah, just a couple hours before New Year's Eve. So that was kind of cool. And of course, that's pretty positive. We got one of the devs in the team getting excited about it. That's kind of cool confidence builder. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. We have not yet had that within a couple of weeks. And of course, we're actually backing out here towards the last couple of days that I had this queued in. Now, this is my estimation based on the couple of weeks and being a bit generous into the 9th there. So we'll see whether it does materialize. We did have Richard saying he was a bit critical about dates around that. That was also following that sort of rumor. We'll see. So, hey, we may be in luck on the 9th. Let's see. We've got nice green candles moving into this period. Let's have a bit of hopium there. We'll see. And hopes are not dashed. Hopes are not dashed. Right, so we also had the Hex Godwell there stake until the 14th of February. Now, obviously, people are wondering what does that mean? Is that indication or anything? Is he in Richard Hart's inner circle? Is he Richard Hart? All sorts of stuff, Hex Godwell. But of course, this is one day before the share rate is expected to jump by 600 Hex as well. Maybe that's part of the influence there, or maybe it's completely unrelated. We will see about that. So that's kind of Hex Godwell there. The other thing, of course, is we're coming up to the Shanghai Fork, 15th of March. And just to wrap off the Ethereum proof of stake, we really do need those ETH withdrawals. So the market's kind of looking for that. I probably think they've probably got a pretty reasonable chance of having that done on time. I haven't seen anything recently. I probably should check that up. But that's kind of when I checked them out a week ago, that was kind of where the sentiment was in March. So we don't know. I've just put it in the middle of March. And of course, we'll see when that does, if that does launch in time. Obviously, if that doesn't launch on time, then the Pulsechain team trying to wait for that would be, that would be just further down the line, right? But it is pretty important because we'll need pulse withdrawals, right, from proof of stake. So we'll see. We did see Richard Hart talk about the Block Explorer and, of course, Lighthouse and Prism, and, of course, scaling the numbers for the trillions of Pulse and stuff that's going to be there, Pulsex. So we did see that. Now, we're expecting somewhere on the supply for Pulse around about 15.5 trillion. We're expecting around about 16.5 trillion for the Pulsex in terms of the public supply, so excluding the Origin Sacrifice kind of accounts. That's kind of where we're expecting the supply. Obviously, total supply is going to be well in excess of 120 trillion. And of course, we're just looking at the public supply because that's really, if we think of it operating some of the Hex, then we don't expect any selling of that those other bags. And therefore, we just get down to the public supply. That's all we care about. And of course, we have a certain small fraction of that. We end up being liquidity pools, obviously up the Pulsex sets up as well. So we're going to see a certain amount of that from the public flow into that system. So it's going to be interesting to see that too. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. And then, of course, we've got the V3 license coming out from Uniswap. And obviously, we in May last year, we had a V3 AMM update that looked like they'd done some sort of approximation to help push that into the AMM bot harvesting pools for Pulsechain. And of course, maybe they just decide if they're going to wait for the ETH withdrawals, maybe they just wait for the V3 license to be open on the 1st of April. That's 2 years after it was set up, right? So we'll see. And then maybe we just get this Pulsechain launch here somewhere in the April to May. That kind of feels the most logical period of time for these things. We just don't know about the optionality. Obviously, the ETH withdrawals are pretty important. Whether the team's going to wait for that, maybe the most bullish scenario is they launch a bit mainly a bit earlier, but then they have to manually do these upgrades with the Pulse withdrawals. So maybe they'll do that. We'll see. I kind of feel like they're going to wait for this myself. And of course, if they're going to wait for this, they might as well wait for the actual data for V3. Now, someone said earlier in the chat there, would this mean that we get another testnet? We may very well, even if we did get a early testnet, just with the 0.25% fee in it, maybe some S-load function settings, whatever else they're going to do to it. Then we get that just the basics in here, and then of course we get the mainnet later on here in the March, April, May here, and they just do it on the actuals. Now, will we get another testnet though? I guess that's a question you might ask. I don't think so for this particular, at least for V3. But the ETH proof of withdrawals, we may end up, if they did do a testnet here, we might end up getting a short one, but maybe it's just short for 2 weeks and just allowing withdrawals, and that would still push us into the May timeframe. So that's kind of some optionality there. All right, that is kind of the ETH Pulsechain sort of narrative. And of course, by the time we have all this, all our top AAA dApps that we talk about all the time will have a lot of their dApps finished. We see most of them are already out there, particularly first V1s. We've got some V2s, Liquid Loans V2 coming out. We've got Power City Core and Amplify coming out pretty shortly. And they, I think, are trying to wait for this Pulsechain V3, so we'll see. We've also got, obviously, this our third component is really the financial markets. And we've got the Fed here. We could get that final pivot by March, all things considered. So if we still see inflation come back, we see a bit more weakness in the employment, then this will probably still hold up that we get to a 5%, or we get to 5.25. If we get to 5.25, that could be as late as May, unless they front run it and make one of these 50 basis points. If they're going to do 50 basis points, you'd think they'll do February, right? But hey, that's just the way you think they'll do it. In any case, if we get this timing, it all plays out pretty well, right? This April, May looks pretty good. And of course, we'll get the sort of the first mini pivot. There's not the true pivot we normally talk about. We get that mini pivot, and of course, we'll have stable. The rates will stay up, all things considered, right? So basically, we see some sustained pressure. If we get some sustained pressure over time with the inflation coming down, maybe the employment weakening, then we may get as early as the earliest time frame I could think of a proper pivot is September, October. And of course, that means the stock market will probably tank just after that because the real economy follows in behind the pivot. And of course, the stock market reacts early. So they'll get bad earning seasons and they'll just react early, and down we go. And then after that, we could have a hockey stick into 24, and that feels like the bull market will be in play. The other side, of course, not just interest rates pivoting, but also expanding the monetary supply, maybe getting up to 5%, 10% on monetary supply. But they may end up picking up earlier as well with the M2 supply there. So we'll be watching that too. It's kind of an overview of where we think the markets are going to go. Let's have a look at the Hex Whale. We're going to come up to number 4 on the top 5 soon, so stay tuned for that. What have we got here? We had some penalties in here for Hex. Not too bad. We'll take the penalties. Thank you very much. What else? 110 million. What was that? 110 million Hex stake for 57 days. Another one of these big short-term stakers that keep scraping interest thereabouts. Let's just see if anyone's got any comments on that. The dumper has dumped enough for now. So this is the dumper's account, is it? I'm just trying to have a look at this account here. Can't remember. There's been a few of them lately. So it's kind of cool. Looks like they may have just sold some and then staked the rest of it after dumping some. So it looks like one of the possible dumpers that we've had lately. 19 million Hex just a stake for 3,640 days. Woohoo! That is really cool. 2,248 T-shares. Very, very cool. Very smart to do it before the 15th of February too, because we know we're most likely going to have that 600 Hex increase per T-share. So imagine paying another 600 Hex per 2,248 T-shares. That'd be pretty crazy, right? So they avoided that. Very smart move there, 19 million. Now, we actually saw a big stake yesterday as well, didn't we? Just scrolling back through that, we did see a big stake we saw this one here. So 36 million Hex stake for 400 days. So that's really cool to see some of these bigger holders staking longer. So that's what Hex is all about, getting those T shares. All right, so cool. That is pretty much it. We're going to get quickly into Maxi here. We've got the Maximus products. We've got that's up 5.8% on Maxi Hex at the moment. So it's at 2.6 cents. So what's the premium on here? Let's have a quick look. The premium of Maxi. Let's have a look at that. Probably won't go through all the perpetuals. We're at 36% premium of Maxi over Hex at the moment. So that's kind of sitting in this new range now. Gone are the days of a 2.6 premium up here, or 2.5, 2.4. So that is gone. We're down at 1.36. And it'll be interesting to see whether it probably possibly could come back again as the treasury builds up. And that, remember, it's the 30th biggest stake, at least last time we checked. So in the Hex, and it's continuing to build up a lot of value in its treasury. So we'll see whether that ends up rebounding its premium at some stage in the future. The other one, of course, is the 10-year perpetual. Let's have a look at that. It's currently at 1.9 cents at the moment. That looks like pretty even with the old Hex as well, doesn't it? With the ratio there, because Hex is about 1.9. Yeah, so it's just slightly under. Actually, the DESI 10-year is slightly under 1, so that is at 9.9. But man, was it at a discount or what? I mean, it was down at 84%, 84 down here. So massive discount versus Hex back down here. So really nice value grab in here by people that accumulate DESI. We did hear some people in the chat talking about, oh, I'm going to capture some of that yield. Well, it's turned out to pay off for them because this could also go positive, right? This could also get into this territory here. So if we've got the Maximus at 36, there's no reason, I guess, why this couldn't be get up to 15 or 20 premium. We'll see whether that does occur. That's kind of where my thoughts are there. Trio over here is at, this is the 3-year one. This is at 1.944, so there's a slight premium over the shorter term. Perpetuals got a slight premium over Hex. So let's have a quick look at that. Switch it to the Hex, to the ratio there, 1.02. So Trio 1.02 to 1 against Hex. Let's have a look at the 7-year, the Lucky. I've got these out of order slightly, so I'm going to have to reset this whole diagrams here. But what have we got here? We've got 97. So the 7-year, this just like the 10-year is slightly under. This is slightly worse. So the short ones are being factored higher. Now this one here was the base one, but it's not loading. The Trio, the team here is at 2.3 cents, it says here, but I haven't double checked that one. So we'll jump away from there. Poly, it says, is at 501116. Looks like it's had a bit of a rally there in Poly. It's had a little bit of a rally there in Poly. Once again, I've got to check these teams and Poly ones, but I think these are the right contracts. Anyway, so that is where the price is on those. Let's jump away to the other part. So we looked at Hex at the base, and we got on top of the Hex is the ecosystem, which has been built by Dipcatcher, Goldkey, and Alex McFurter. And of course, we got Maximus, which we just went through, and now we've got Icosa Hedron. So we're going to talk about the second part of that with the other project team. We've got Hedron at the moment is having a good day, actually. I'm feeling a little bit more bullish about Hedron. What do you guys reckon? Let me know in the chat. We're at 1171 here, having a nice little move up here. And of course, had a massive bear decline here. And of course, having a nice little strong rally here. Now, when we get these two crossing, that's kind of a very bullish confirmation. And that's not the only thing, of course, but it's very confirmation that we get the 9-day exponential moving average crossing the 21-day exponential moving average. Remember, the exponential from a simple is basically it just weights the last couple of days more than the previous, as opposed to averaging them all out together. So that's kind of we're out there 1171. So it's pretty good, right? Let's have a look at the buyers. We're at 37 buyers versus 7 sellers. That's really cool. That's really strong. And of course, we've got the buy volume 83% versus 17 sell. So maybe the sellers have had enough for the moment. The sellers have had enough. Remember, people are still minting, right? They can still mint. Maybe the minters are saying, well, I don't really want to sell at this price. I want to sell at maybe 2,200 or something. Maybe they'll be willing to sell up here. Maybe minters are still not wanting to sell here. So we'll see. At the moment, a pretty good day and a nice little momentum here in Hedron. Let's jump over to the Icosa and have a look at liquidations. We've got 4,376 in the liquidation queue. Looks pretty similar to yesterday. And of course, let's have a look at the auctions. 19 in the auction house. So let's see what these are going for. And Sandy Beach has bid on one of these. So good luck to Sandy out there. We wish you well. So what else we got here? We got 46,000 Hex in here. 100,000 Hex, so 12 T-shares. What else is in here? 799,000. So we've got almost 99 T-shares here. So currently a 1 billion Hedron bid on it. Still 17.5 hours to go. We've got 520,000 Hex here as well, 64 T-shares. So there's quite a bit of a range in there today. That's for the auction house. So we're going to jump away from that. So let me just close down some of these sites as well. Bomb, and get rid of that. So Dev Huey has talked about, let's see if there's any updates on the What's NFTs. Let's jump over to this. 5 What's NFTs burnt. So that was on the 4th of January. Let's have a look here. So I think that's it at the moment. So 12 hours ago, Icosa is only 23% from its arbitrage ceiling now, as though 50% from its ceiling last week. Liquid supply has reduced from 2.1 to 1.9 million last few days, and stake Icosa has increased. Oh, that's pretty cool. So that's kind of a bullish sign there for Icosa. In fact, I didn't pull up the Icosa price, so we might have a quick look at that. And that's kind of cool. So some good news there for Icosa. It's got the old premiums there. So let's have a look over at Icosa. I'm going to bring that up. And let me have a look. Icosa. This had a bit of a rally, I think, if I remember rightly. So we were talking about this yesterday in private chat. Yeah, 16 buys and 18 sells in the last 24 hours. 14,000 versus 11K. It's had a nice little rally here in Icosa. It's got really sold down quite a bit, didn't it? Look at that. Oh, my goodness. It got sold down all the way down to 30 cents or 29 cents. And it pumped up really nice over the last 4 days. So this is a nice play. Congratulations to you. Now, obviously some big whale came in here, and looks like they bought up here and got pushed all the way up to 61% in 4 days. So congratulations if you participated in the Icosa there. If you are obviously staking and getting Icosa, then it's got a lot more value in the last 4 days. It's kind of cool. Feels a lot better being up at this level on the old Icosa there. So nice. What else? Let's jump over to the Zen. Now, number 4 play for this year. I think it's going to be a bit of a surprise, and I think that Zen could end up being that speculative play. And we're seeing some pretty interesting stuff there. And there's a lot of pump mentals to this, and there's probably a little bit more than I can say just in this time frame. So maybe I should just do another separate video on this. But Zen could very well outperform people's imaginations here. And of course, we have seen the inflation, but what we're seeing is a whole ton of burning deflation products coming out. And this could change the whole profile of this Zen contract. So it's going to be interesting. After that, we're also going to see, so this is phase 1. We had inflation. Phase 2, we got burning and deflation. Proof of burn is what they're saying. And then third, of course, we got staking with NFTs. We already have staking for Zen, staking for NFTs. And then 4th phase is lending, potentially leverage and other things. And of course, there could be lots of other products by lots of product teams that are building on the ecosystem. So Zen is really focusing on being a medium of exchange as opposed to a store of value like Hex and Pulse Bitcoin and Bitcoin itself, that sort of store of value. Appreciating store of value is what I call it, because it has volatility, right? It's not like a stable coin. And of course, we have a medium exchange where people are trying to get the token used all over the place. You need people to make applications, and you need mass adoption, you need network effect, all that sort of stuff for those kind of things. So that's kind of important there. So this is kind of where we see the play there over this roadmap. And of course, I think we're going to see rapid innovation. So we're not going to see, I don't think we're going to see 3 months of time. I think we could end up seeing 6 months in some cases, 6 weeks in some cases, rapid design. So the next project that we're seeing for a Zen is the Reflection token. That's going to have a monthly competitive burn in it. We already got the ZNFTs with the burn, and I think those are going to get eaten up within months as the inflation comes out. Some people will sell it, will dump the inflation. We see that, but some people are probably going to end up just capturing the NFTs. So they're going to burn their Zen and capture the early NFTs. There are 10,000 Apex NFTs, and they're the ones that people I think are going to capture. So we got a 10 billion, the 5 billion, 2.5 billion. We got the 1 billion and $500 million. Those $500 million are going to get eaten up, I think. As more inflation comes out, people are going to get those and play the NFT game. And I think that's going to be pretty cool. That's going to give us a lot of burn as well. Now, for the top tier, of course, the rarity is the real key of those NFTs, like the X Unicorn. But the bottom ones are going to be, you're still going to get net inflation later on, further down the track, because you're getting more reward inside the underlying Zen contract than you are burning. Not true for the top NFTs, but you're really playing for the rarity of the NFT. So we're going to see that play out as more inflation, as the inflation grows. So it's going to be fun to see that. Now, that's probably a whole separate conversation, so I'm going to talk about that in another one. But yeah, I do think Zen's may surprise to the upside. We're going to see how that plays on. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to have massive volatility and dips, and the price could go much lower because as more inflation comes out, we could end up going down to 6 zeros 3,000, or even 7 zeros 500, somewhere in that ballpark. We could end up being down there. It assumes no burning, so that's a price with no burning. And of course, what that means is that when you go to Mitch or Zen, that we go from 30 days to 60 days profitability to 90 days, 120 days. It just gets worse and worse and worse, and then we find the bottom of the market once the profitability of burning gets right up to the max period. So the max period is about 442 days at the moment. So you can imagine once the price gets to that level and that's not profitable, then we could see the price go up, right? That's kind of the basic idea. But of course, we have burning, and all these products coming out like NFTs, reflection token, competitive burning mechanisms with the secondary token, and much more coming down the line there. Like I said, with the staking in NFTs and the lending and things like that. So you could see rapid innovation in the space. The founder is also the dev, right? So that's kind of a faster move there. And a lot of these codes are not that complicated for them. They can make the gamification and make relatively simplified code, get audited. Everything is audited, and away you go. So this is definitely a number 4 watch on this one. So I'm going to do probably a fuller video on this. Remember, this is a possible play compared to a probable play. And I think the other 3, number 1, Pulsechain, Pulsechain, and Hex, are probable plays. This is a possible play, but I think this is a high-quality possible play. So just remember that. And, of course, nothing on this channel is investment advice. You must do your own due diligence. So that's kind of the play there at the moment. And, of course, at the moment, we're getting quite of a stubborn, highly priced here up at 2440. So you would have thought this would reasonably have capitulated now, but it has not. So I'm not going to go through all the details behind that because that's, take a full video. But that is kind of number 4. We will see how that goes. Now, let's jump out of here. Now, this is kind of an honorable mention is the weight token. Obviously, if this gets fees coming in from the on-ramp, off-ramp that they're looking to launch soon on the ETH chain, which will be on Pulsechain, and of course, they're going to be backed that up with the stablecoin CST, then this could have a massive rally in this chart of the weight token. So it's an honorable mention, but definitely a possibility there if that does come to fruition there for Coast. That's kind of the play there. Now, having a look at just jumping back to Zen quickly, users found Zen in their life, not including all the traders who discovered it on many different trading platforms. We've got active users 730,000. So this is really the idea of going for mass adoption. So this could be one of the unicorns, literally unicorns in crypto. And of course, we look for that. So Hex was a unicorn in crypto. This could very well be a unicorn in crypto. So it's definitely worth thinking about there. Now, the other one, of course, is the Coast. We're just talking about the weight token, and this could be particularly huge as well. And of course, we're getting lots of cool updates from Coast team on Twitter. We're pretty excited to show how easy it is to buy Hex. The fiat on-ramp is currently on private testing. So that's very bullish, right? Very bullish. This is the 4th of January. We'll be launching on Ethereum and then later on Pulsechain. That is really, really cool. So some people ask, we're going to have fiat on-ramps and off-ramps with Pulsechain. Yes, we are. We're going to have quite a few of them because we know Overwatch and others are working on some as well as centralized exchanges and coin listing sites and things like that. So it's going to be pretty good. We've got plenty of stable coins as well. A lot of the market's going to be taken off by storm. A lot of market are not following the ecosystem of Pulsechain. They don't have a clue what's going on, including many of the big sacrifices that have sacrificed for Pulsechain, probably are distracted with their margin trading shilling and, of course, the top coins, right? That's all they care about. That's where they make their jam and their honey. So that's kind of where they are. All right, so cool. When a product is free, you are the product. That's the one there. Not always true. Not always true, actually. Not always true. What are your thoughts there? So we've got some cool stuff there. Let's jump over to some of these other things that are on here. Coach says 14 hours ago, our fiat on-ramp won't allow our team to hold your money. We are outside the flow of funds. This literally solves the FTX issue. So obviously no middleman. You will be able to on-ramp, off-ramp with significantly reduced counterparty risk, buying Hex on Ethereum or Pulsechain. So obviously you'll be able to get your USDC through them. And of course, you'll be able to buy Hex with that, which is pretty cool, and not have to worry about any middle agency. That's particularly good for this is targeting US, so you can avoid Coinbase, I guess, and going through those traditional means. It's a good way of doing it. So I think it's going to be pretty popular, and of course, coming to Pulsechain, it's going to be great. So very excited. I will be doing more Pulsechain ecosystem videos because I think there's a lot more to talk about. So and I'll just show you how valuable it's going to be. It's going to be awesome. Now, Coach says 13 hours ago, we're thinking of having our fiat on-ramp burn Hex. This is kind of cool, man. So these guys are really, they are Hexkins, man, and they keep pushing that out. Imagine fiat on-ramp that burns Hex. This could be another element, not just in the weight token potentially, which is my speculation around fee earning, but actually burning Hex. Isn't that cool? We want to see that. I think that's great. So that could be really big too, because obviously this is self-promotion, promoting this on-ramp, because if it's going to burn Hex, it's all in our interest, right? So that's kind of cool. I like that. So it's good stuff coming there from the Coast team. Now, 12 hours ago, another team member to help finalize the fiat on-ramp. Glad to have you on board and help us add infrastructure to the Hex and Pulsechain community. And they hired a new CTO. So that's awesome. Technology officer there. So that's really, really cool. Great news there. So like that. So I think that was kind of the highlights there from them. I'm pretty sure. They do. Oh, yeah, they did. Actually, I've got to talk about this because I was going to talk about this. This with stake wraps. So I was going to talk about that quickly. I forgot to pull that up. So we will talk about that too, because I want to talk about that later. So I'm going to pull that to the end. So that is kind of the highlights there from the weight and the Zen tokens there. So honorable mention to the weight team there. Definitely one to watch. Put it on your watch list. And of course, most people are getting that by 8 different sacrifices that they did. They get for free, but hey, it might be a nice, wonderful speculative play there, given all that pump metals coming up. Could be cool. Now, the other one, of course, is the PP token. This is a pretty poor plebs. It's pretty small here, about 1.4 million tokens, worth probably, I don't know, $1.50 or something. So we'll see how we get on there. It's certainly not in the same category as, at this stage, at least, as the Zen and the weight by a long shot. So we'll see, but it's free. So that's pretty much it. Right, so cool. That is there. We're going to get on to the Pulsechain, the Pulse Bitcoin. Now, this is kind of the play here at the moment. And, of course, for me, I don't know. This is kind of a tough one. This is a tough one because this is kind of, I see the asset token as the most valuable at the moment. I see it as the more valuable. Now, Pulse Bitcoin is the store of value, and this is kind of my number 5 pick. But I'm going to be a bit lazy here because number 5 pick is the asset token, but also I kind of fit it together with Pulse Bitcoin. I kind of see them going together. And, of course, this is my pick for number 5. Because I think this could do really, really well if they keep consistently growing the ecosystem and they do follow the strategy of holding. Now, Richard Hart always says, "What's value?" Well, it's just the basic common sense. You buy and you hold, and that's one of the things that underpins Hex, right? You stake you get your Hex and you stake it, gets Hex off the market. That's kind of one of the probabilities, but it's actually wider than that, right? It's also trying to get the people with circulating supply. Also to hold and not sell. And of course, that's the mantra that's coming out of Wolverine and Pepe and people like that, is the ultimate strategy is accumulate asset token, mine Pulse Bitcoin. Don't sold your Pulse Bitcoin, just hold it and then tell everybody about the ecosystem, grow the ecosystem, get more people to buy, and the price will go up. And you won't even have to sell as much as you need to because the value will go up and you can just hodl or you hoard, right? So imagine if everyone was hoarding their Pulse Bitcoin. And, of course, then you would only have to sell a little bit, right? It's a bit like Hex Godwell. Once you get into big dollars, well, maybe you don't need to sell the whole bag down, especially if everyone else is not. Now, this is obviously not how markets operate. Markets operate like a feverish hornet's nest. And, of course, you get people doing all sorts of stuff there. And, of course, you don't get that kind of collusion working very well in markets because you just know, are you going to trust that guy over there? Is he really going to hold? Is he going to sell? You know, that's kind of that. You get that going on. You've got the big whales. You've got the smaller accounts as well. So you still have a lot of traditional problems. But, of course, they're trying to do the culture. Don't sell your Pulse Bitcoin and buy asset token. Buy asset tokens and hold your Pulse Bitcoin. That's kind of the mantra there. So we're going to see how that goes. But if they keep their strategy going, I'm not so sure. They're targeting India, and I think they're going to try to look to target Africa. I kind of feel that's the wrong strategy myself. I think they can definitely get the numbers. And maybe that is a longer play. Maybe it's a more viral play. If the virality is good, maybe that will work if the value is good, but because you'll be chipping away at the volume. But what happens if the value is not good and the culture is not good in terms of being used to holding? Then maybe their better strategy was to target the United States, target Europe, where the big money is. And of course, a lot of the big players are coming in. They could also target Asia. Asia is obviously very good as well. And those kind of the big players, you know, thinking about South Korea, Japan, China, you know, some of the other crypto places in there, Taiwan, and places like that. That kind of could be where they're targeting, or Europe. So that's kind of be interesting to see whether that strategy pays off. But that's kind of this is kind of number 5 here in that order. So we've got Pulse Bitcoin, we've got Pulse X, we've got Hex, We got Zen, and of course we got Pulse Bitcoin assets there in terms of big extra returns. Now remember, compared to the top 10 are kind of, they're going to do well. They're the main chains. When the bull market comes back on, people want them. Are they going to get more congestion over time? We're going to have more mass adoption in those chains, Ethereum, Binance Chain, Polygon, etc., ADA. But, if you're after the bigger extra returns, then relatively speaking, you're going to absolutely beat them out with these other chains. So with these other products that we just talked about today. So it's pretty cool. So that's my top 5 for 2023. And of course, an honorable mention for the weight token there as well. Now, obviously, when we get Pulsechain launched, we're going to have a whole set of new top tier utilities, and we'll talk more about them when they come up at the moment. So kind of cool. All right, so that is it. Let's go and have a quick look at BNBP. BNBP today, this is the world's first peer-to-peer crypto casino. This is new technology in crypto space. So I love this sort of stuff, being on the frontier. And of course, the high of the day is $6.76. The low of the day is $5.73. And we're currently at $5.89. So a bit of volatility in today's price, getting up to $6.76 on the high side. Now, obviously, we've got the latest game out at the moment, Roulette. And of course, we're looking at this from a staking point of view. So you stake your BNBP. And of course, you get the returns from the casino or iGaming. And of course, we can see we've had some nice update here. PSI was generous enough to give us an update in the chat there because he's on Telegram, whereas I am not. And of course, the update was as follows. Small BNB pot roulette update table. So we don't just have the win or loss. So in the red and blue, the red is a loss, the green is a win for the roulette. But we also have the numbers that they won, that they chose that didn't win, which is kind of cool. That's kind of a must. So it's nice to see those numbers. So if they picked 21 and they lost on that one, this one here picked 12 and they won on that. They picked 12 again and they won on that. So 12 coming up in two rounds. That's amazing. I just noticed that in 9-9. Well, I don't know for sure what's going on there. Anyway, they lost on those two on the 9-9s, but pretty interesting here. It's kind of cool. Basically, I like it. Roulette's one of the games that I do like is roulette. It's just the way it is set up. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so we know that in Q1 we're going to end up having Powerball and Fortune Wheel coming up next year. We gave that update yesterday. So we've got Powerball and Fortune Wheel coming up, probably in that order. That's kind of cool. We've got Jackpot on at the moment that's running. This is the first game. And, of course, this is what we're up to now. 16,853 gains. 16,853 gains since launch. Is that cool? That is pretty cool. I think that's cool. Let's have a look at all statistics. Let's have a quick roundup of that. Oh, it's actually not updating. Let me have a look here. Let's try this one more time. It's probably because I'm in the wrong chain. Let's have a look. Let's go to all statistics. Not updating. It's not updating for some reason. Let me just refresh this browser. Let's see if that's going to update there. It's going to update. Going to go there. No, for some reason it's just not updating there. I'm not sure why. We'll try and come back to that. Oh, there it is. We got it back. All right, so staking at the moment, 77.84% of BNBP is staked. We're at 761,315 BNBP. That's kind of cool. We have the 100,000 participation wallet is at the top there, staked. It's on day 74 of 100, so it's only got 6 days to go until the first stake's coming out. So we've got 2 challenges. We've got the participation wallet being paid out eventually. We've also got the restaking cycle, the first restaking cycle is coming up in 6 days. So that's the 2 challenges. The positives, of course, is the new game, Roulette. All things equal, more revenue, more profits, more airdrops, more burns, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the play. Now, more marketing needs to be done. I would say that more marketing needs to be done. So that's the other side of it. Let's have a look at the lottery. We've got 41 lotteries have been paid out to BNBP stakers. You get a ticket for every BNBP. So congratulations to all the winners. I haven't won yet myself. Hopefully I'll win something. But that's the way it goes. We've got the burn at the moment. We've had 46 burn events. We're now, the supply of BNBP has gone from 1 million to 997,104. So we've got the total supply shrinking. And we've got a high staking percentage. What do we say, 77.84. We've got 100,000. We've got to absorb that. Once we absorb that, then we'll get normal type of behavior after that. So we're looking for that with more games coming on. So it's going to be fun to see that. And of course, we're going to see how much staking we get on as well. Obviously, the lower the staking, the higher the reward you get, all things equal from the profits, right? But you perhaps get a lot more price volatility. So that's the other thing you got to take into account. Airdrops at the moment, we've got 4 airdrops that have been paid out, and the last one was pretty juicy, 10,331 BNBP. And of course, we've got the next one's in 24 days and 21 hours. We've got 266 BNBP in that. The possession phase at the moment is 87% has been won. So either through referral claims, 2,731 BNBP, or games. So people have won it playing the games, the 84,581. So we're getting there. 87,000 basically is where we're up to. We've got 13,000 left to be won. So that's kind of where we're out there. So cool. Let's go to the general board. I don't think I see any updates here. That's pretty much it. Update for BNBP. Currently at $5.89. We'll be looking forward to that in the next week. See how that plays out. All right, cool. That is pretty much it. We're going to get into Hex daily stats. We're going to talk about that. So we've got day 1,129 hot off the press, about maybe 40 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, 23rd of April. It's kind of cool. The 23rd of April. Before we get into that, though, let's catch up on the chats because I'm probably quite far behind. We're just about up there. We've got quite a bit more content to talk about, so we're going to keep going until we're finished. Let's see where we're up to here. We got PSI says, I'm drunk with power. Yeah. Soap in my eyes could become the next pandemic, says Wookie. Yeah, that's 2 days. Wookie's been mocking me with the same thing since yesterday. Man, these community moderators are terrible. They're my arch enemies. My own community moderators have become my arch enemies. Can you believe it? That's terrible. All right. PSI says, and all that whiskey. Yeah. It's also, have you seen Julius Caesar in the famous film? And he goes, Brutus, you too? You Brutus, you too? He stabs him in the back. Brutus, you too? You stabbed me too? Have you seen that? It's classic line. Anyway, so Crypto T says mid-May 2024. I hope not, Crypto T. I do hope not. That would be really bad. Oh, wait, no, 2023. Yeah, I think I like that bit better. All right. Brian says, yeah, to clarify, May to June 2023. Yeah. Benny says, good to see you. I'm hoping May 2023 in my humble opinion, says Sandy. North Face says, Rage was asking about connecting with Netflix about coming up on Twitter, I think. Yeah, we're going to talk about that soon. I'm coming up to that. That is coming up on Twitter. Let's see what else there. PSI says, anyone hear about the GitHub update today? No, there's no update that I saw. Netflix would be awesome. Pulsechain archive node syncing. I didn't see anything on that at all. It was posted in a Telegram. Yeah, I didn't see anything on that. Yeah, soon movie and Pulsechain. What else there? Tortoise Johnny is coming up with the latest Prada chain. That could actually be worth quite a bit. Prada chain. Like we're heading with that, Tortoise Johnny. Gucci Prada. Yeah. Kosa will win, says Christian. Yeah, a nice little jump back there with the Kosa price. Hope RH will give the trophy out. A trophy. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. General says, so if Coast is launching on Ethereum before a Pulse chain, would it be best to claim weight before the launch? Before they launch Ethereum? No, you get more weight every day that you would wait for every sacrifice that you had every hour, isn't it? Every hour, I think something like that per sacrifice. And of course, before Pulse chain launches. So no, I would just keep accumulating more weight if you don't want to cash them. Thanks for all you do, Superman. Hey, you're welcome to Fon. Like I say, if they do end up getting fees for the weight token, then you're going to see the weight token pump. Now, it will pump, of course, and it will go down to some price, but the price will probably be higher than it was before because it's now got fees coming into possibly. I don't know how they're going to extract that. It's my speculation. I don't know. That's kind of just seems like something they may very well do with the bridge. We'll see. They obviously talked about doing hex burning today, so maybe they'll do that instead. It's just my speculation on that last one. PSI says it will be really interesting to see how Pulse Bitcoin and ASIC trade after the first halving. It will be much harder to get hold of. Yep. Well, I think that's going to be a natural benefit. I don't think it's going to follow like the Bitcoin cycles with the halvings, but I definitely think that it's probably going to do well after that. That just implicitly makes it more valuable. But when that timing happens is another thing. Good evening, Hex family. So check my pulse. What's up, Superman? Woohoo! 2023, the year of Pulse Chain. Yeah, that is true. I love that. The year of Pulse Chain. Pulse gains. 4 days to cruise, says check my pulse. Oh, is that the Hex cruise? Yeah, I think Great White's going to be on that, right? So the Hex cruise there. Definitely got to post some pictures of that in the chat there. That's going to be on the same time as the conference. So you guys will probably be watching it on the cruise ship. See you, Tom. Going to watch Ghost Adventures. What's it? Advantages, says Christian. All right, so cool. Let's get into it. The 4th of January, we've got the price at 1.916 cents, up 7%. Yay! We like to see a price bump like that for once. We're at 6.274 on the X payout per T-share, so a pretty modest day today. We've got the T-share rate there, $488 per T-share. The share rate jumped 29 today. This is one of our first little incrementals I've been talking about. 29 is increased. 25,453. Now, by the time we get to the 16th of February, this will be over 26,000. So if you are going to stake, you want to think about getting in there early before that, because it's going to go up to 600x per T-share. Now, the other thing, of course, Hex is a longer pays better. One of the two big features is longer pays better. And of course, you will get this for a third of the price if you go out longer. So every year you get 20% more shares, up to 200% over 10 years. So you get it for a third of the price there. Average stake length 6.53 years. The average APY rate yield and emergency in-stake penalties 36.5%. Remember, this is based on the average stake length there, based on time. So that's 36.5% paid out in Hex, not in the US dollars, which moves around. The pool there, woohoo! We had 388 million yesterday. We're down to 362.9 million Hex in the pool today. Very nice. And of course, we're almost back at 10 million US dollars, just under $9.9 million there in the pool. Let's get back over the 10 million. Yeah, boy. Remember when we had the Hex top of the Hex price around about 52 cents? We were at about 35 million US dollars in the pool. Gives you an idea of how the AMM pool works there. Liquidity in the pool, 1,455 ETH, so up dramatically from yesterday. Or 220 ETH there. That's pretty crazy. Now, remember, we also, the buying and selling moves this liquidity around, but also people adding and removing liquidity moves it around as well. We're jumping over to T-shares, up 3,476 and a 10,305,000. Remember, Hex is easy to understand. We have a reward pool with the inflation and penalties, and we also have an ownership pool with the T-shares, which stands for trillions of shares in it. If we have a move in the reward or the ownership pool, then the Hex payout per T-share moves around, but generally it's just going to keep going up and to the right. So that's going to be fun to see that. So we always talk about longer pays better and bigger pays better, but of course earlier pays better with the share rate. You get the share rate today because it could jump up at different times based on what what's happening in the ecosystem with the stakes and stuff. Stake percentage of coins 10.02%. We've got the penalties at 740,000. So modest day today. For the penalties there, the growth in the ecosystem is starting to return to normal. I'd like to see this. These numbers are starting to look normal again. We did have a little bit of volatility around the price, capitulation almost. But we're down to 46 increases in the current holders, up to 350,710. The stake is up 33 to 116,869. And of course, this is where we need to keep promoting Hex and getting out there, spreading the word. And of course, the total holders up 135 to 520,319. We're on day 1,130 in the second month of the fourth year of Hex. So cool. We got the base payout is pretty much close to 6.229 at the moment. So that's not too bad. Not too bad. It keeps going up too. So looking forward to that. Now the Hex Godwell staking until the 14th did lower that. Of course, I think we were up at 6.3 or something, but that's kind of cool. Look forward to that. It's going to be neat. So that's the Hex daily stats. And we've got a little pump on Hex as well at the moment. Let's go to the hourly chart on Hex and let's get rid of the overlays and let's auto log that. That is our pump there in Hex. That's pretty cool. Let's get rid of all the previous chart. Nice, looking good there. Let's see whether we can get a little breakout into the conference. That's really cool. Talking about the conference, we got that coming up. It is pretty shortly, the 6th of January. So that's going to be cool. I'll post the link in the chat there if you want to get hold of that. Hex Fetty's jumped in the chat there. Hey, everybody, good to see Hex Fetty. Got a nice bounce this morning. It did indeed. We talked about that. Yeah, no Hex cruise is in March. Oh, it's in March. Okay, cool. Nice one there. Oh, you're just going on another cruise. All right, so that is the Hex conference. I remember Great White talking about the Hex cruise, but I couldn't recall when it was on. Hex conference, that is the link. All right, so cool. This is the link, and you can see all the details. The schedule is there as well. And of course, Richard Hart will be the keynote speaker, so we're very excited about that. We're also going to have Aubrey de Grey there. It's a friend of Maddie's now, I think, longevity expert. And of course, we've got potentially have up to, there's going to be heaps of YouTubers there as well. So all your favorite influencers, Twitter influencers probably, Instagram influencers, TikTok influencers. There's only really one big TikTok influencer in the Hex Pulsechain that I'm aware of. There might be others that are trying to enter into that space. Maybe Abet's probably entering in there quite decently. But yeah, definitely in there. I can't remember the guy's name. It's the Twitter influencer. Sorry, the TikTok influencer. You guys might remember his name. Anyway, so this is the conference timeline. Let me just see if I can pull that back. So that is the conference coming up on the 6th of the 9th. and Hex is rallying into it at the moment, 1.9. It seems funny saying rallying into it, given the fact it's down at 1.9. But hey, it is, it's having a pretty decent little move higher, relatively speaking. We've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And of course, we've got Richard dominating the second half of the day on the Monday, the 9th of January. But we've got some pretty cool little sections. My highlights, I'm just going to go to my highlights. I'm looking forward to day one, Kinetics and the Hex Investment Trust. I'm definitely looking for that. There's no part 2 yet, so I'm not sure what's going to be in there, but definitely that's something I'll be watching. Day number 2 is the other one, and the keynote speech, I'll be watching that. The T-Shares V3. That is the forecast for T-Shares and, of course, the Hex payout. So that's going to be pretty interesting to you Hexkins out there staking, because that's going to give you some really bullish stuff in there. That's the 3rd year review. Now, they're also going to have Crispy Man Hexfire, who's also got his prediction of the payouts on his hexfire.io site. So it's going to be great to have both of those drop in the alpha on those predictions. So very, very, very nice. The third one I'll be watching in particular is this one over here, the Staker app, Steph on the Staker app. We're looking for version 2 because it looks amazing. The graphics look amazing on Staker app version 2. But when is it? We want it. We want it now. We want it yesterday. We want it yesterday. Bring it on. I love it. I love it. All right, let's get on to it. Is there too much? Then, of course, there's lots of big YouTubers that you know, from Crypto Coffee through to, Crypto Coffee. We've got K for K in there. We've got Fashion Coder. There's something for everybody. It's going to be fun. So definitely get in there. Cabana Crypto, Big Kowalski. So many YouTubers going to be in there. Cream the Dream sneaking in there too on panel 6. We haven't seen him for a long time, so always look forward to his charisma around hex staking. He's going to be in there too. There's lots of people. Crypto Heartbeat, Rag to Riches, just goes on and on. Arnie, Randy Alaski, Crypto 7. A lot of people are going to be there. It's going to be pretty fun. All right, so cool. That is the Hex conference. The other thing, of course, is someone talked about this earlier. Richard Hart's updates. Now, this is kind of a tease, this one here. Does anyone have a hookup at Netflix Corporate? That's pretty interesting. Now, the one thing I do know is that, of course, the highest of stakes is independent of Richard Hart. So the film documentary is independent. They are 5 Emmy Award-winning film company. And, of course, they're looking in the distribution phase to sell it to the top streamers. So pretty interesting that Richard's also, who's not directly related to that, is pushing this out. Does anyone have a hookup at Netflix Corporate? So that's pretty interesting. Where's the angle there? It's going to be interesting. Master P says, what about Amazon Prime? He goes, sure. There's a few comments in there. I'm not sharing any more of my accounts on what this is about. So some people are responding to stuff like that. So cool. There was at the PulseCon, there was a Pulse conference. There was what was it saying? Pulse conference. They did have one of the early founders, didn't they, of co-founders of Netflix or something like that, or Amazon, somewhere like that. They were there. So that's possibly a lead as well. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, so that's kind of the call out there. Pretty interesting call out there by Richard. Maybe he's trying to help things along a little bit, maybe, perhaps. Who knows? We'll see. We got the Norwegian car magazine now. It got retweeted by Richard. That's kind of cool. Got these Hexkin car in there, Hex.com Pulsechain ad there. So that's kind of cool. That's in a Norwegian car magazine. I had to highlight that. It's kind of cool there from Richard as well. So like it. What's this one here? Some stickers here. Yeah, some stickers there around Hex, promoting Hex. That's kind of cool. We might put that in our promotions toolkit there on the Discord if you want to get hold of that. Now, the other thing, of course, is we had Havita Hex, and I think Havita is the biggest female influencer in the Hex Pulse Chain community. I think she is on Twitter. There also, I think there's been some photos of her with Richard having dinner or something. So that's kind of cool. 14,700 followers. So, like I said to you, YouTube might be dominated by a lot of the male influencers. Obviously, there's female ones like Fashion Coder, but Twitter's got tons and tons of female influencers in Hex and Pulse Chain, and Havita, I think, is probably near the top of that, if not the top of it. So pretty cool. She put out a little thing here. They're up to something on Pulse Chain, and of course, just pushing up the GitLab here, and of course, this is just going through the profiles of those members, and we can actually see that directly on the actual gitlab.com under Pulsechain. And of course, you just have to go to the Pulsechain there, and you can see the members. So you get Pulsechain down to these 3 dots, see the members there. We see Brett Paulson, which we talked about. He's the dev that gave us the Euro confidence booster around Pulsechain. changing the world, Richard Hart changing the world on New Year's Eve. So that was kind of cool. His last activity was on the 4th of January. Remember, they have public-facing folders where we see the testnet 2VB, which is currently running public on proof of work. But they also obviously have their private folders. That's where they do all their work, as expected there. So that's all sitting behind. We don't see that stuff, but we do see their last activity. It is on January the 4th there. It's kind of cool. We also had Kyle Barr here. He's also the January the 4th update here, the last activity. It's kind of cool. We also have Richard Hart, of course. This last time he was on here, apparently the 6th of September. So I don't know. Maybe they sent him emails. Who knows? Maybe he's just been busy. I don't know. We got, what else there? We got May the 13th here was for Space Ghost of Quant. That's ages ago, right? So maybe they're not doing anything there at the moment. They got developer status, though. They do have different statuses: developers, maintainer. So I think 3 Commas Capital gets a few criticisms. I'm not sure. There's a little bit of backstory about him. I'm not going to get into that because I don't know enough. But I have seen a few criticisms of him. Anyway, so I can't confirm or deny. So there we are. TVC Dev has got their maintainer. 6th of November was the last log. We got Ghost there, came in there February the 16th, 2022. Was the last of this at the beginning of the year. So obviously, possibly these teams aren't operating there anymore, or operating somewhere else possibly. I'm not familiar with that. Now, there is a devs chat in the Telegram, right? I'm just not on Telegram, so let us know if there is. We've got SJB there, maintainer there, last activity, January the 4th. So we definitely got 1, 2, 3, 4 people that have interacted out of the dev team here on January 3, January the 4th there. That's kind of cool. So that is the update there. I'm not sure if we had anything on the Pulsechain dev there. The last time we had a big update all on one day was a month ago, and that was the update there. So someone said they mentioned something. I didn't see anything on that. Brennan says my relief rally prediction played out. It did indeed, Brennan. You're the ultimate trader. So that's kind of cool. Let's jump away from that. We're going to go to the Staker app. Bring on Staker app, man. So we talk about internet money wallet. Obviously, we're expecting some sort of Heart wallet at some stage. And Heart wallet is bullish. We saw, assuming a call comes up, we know that there's 1 or 2 devs working on Heart wallet. Whereas internet money wallet already has a big team, right? They have a big team, is it like 10 or 12, something like that. It's a pretty big team. Front end UIs and UXs and devs and stuff like that. It's how I understand it's a pretty decent sized team. And of course, we have Staker app, which has been around forever. It is the base app. And of course, I have the link to the Staker app version 1 in the video description, as always. And of course, you can actually stake through there through the smart wallet. You can set up a smart wallet, or you can just paste in your ETH address and just view your wallet stakes and in-stake payments. If you wanted to end stake early, then you could see your in-stake penalty as well, which is kind of cool because it means that people don't have to think about the math behind in-staking. So they can decide, oh, this penalty looks a bit big. I think I'll leave it alone. So that's kind of cool. This is Staker app. And of course, next week, testers will start playing with Staker app. This is on the 10th of December, 2022. This is a while back there, 10th of December. And of course, full release around the end of the year. So I don't think we've seen that at all. Get your goggles ready. I'm going to have a look though. But I love the artwork in here. These guys have really, it might have taken a long time. And of course, they have had time since Pulsechain's not launched. But I really do like where they're heading. So they're beefing up their UI. They're beefing up their security side. They're beefing up their gamification. And the gamification could be very, very good for them on the Staker app. So let's see if they've got any updates here. That was the 10th. I might retweet that, but that was the 10th. The 4th of January, we are building Staker on the future standard of decentralized smart wallets. So they've also had the benefit of, is it the safe token? I can't remember exactly what that was now. That was claimable by the end of the year or something. Imagine mining your own business, floating in deep DeFi seas to come across as December the 31st, and their casual 40 million stake is that a statement. So that there is the wallet looks so cool. Bring it on, man. Let us have access, man. Let us have access. We want access. I love it. It's so cool, the colors and everything. It's kind of cool. Safe. Yeah, the safe token there. I've just claimed my safe governance token and delegated my voting power to help steward the public good that is safe. So if you use their smart wallet, so Staker app, you would be eligible for that. I don't think it's got a market value yet, but I think it'll be trading in this year, 23, I think, if I remember rightly. It's a while ago since I checked that up. That's kind of cool. What else there? I think that was kind of the highlights there over the last few days. So yeah, we're waiting for Staker app version 2. bring it on, as I say, bring it on. So that's kind of where we're up to. And of course, they said on the 10th of December, testers will start playing with StackRat version 2 full release end of the year, but that doesn't appear to be out yet, of course. So looking forward to that. Bring it on. That's all I can say. So that is pretty much the highlights there. Let us know in the chat if you've got anything else they haven't talked about. Hex currently pumping up high here in 1.928 cents. Is it going to break 2 cents today? Is it going to break 2 cents? We will see. General says, is StackRat only for mobile devices? I believe so. Yeah, it's just a mobile app. So I don't think it's on Chrome or any extension or anything like that I'm aware of. Just the wallet there. But it is very useful. It gives you all the information you need. Gives you your portfolio value, all your stakes. Gives you what's happening in the Hex eco on the chain. And that's kind of cool like that. Gives you lots of cool things. And of course, early in-stake penalties if you to do such a thing. All right, so that's now in 40 minutes. And of course, I hope you guys enjoyed today's live stream. Those are the top 5 cryptos to watch for 2023. Pulsex, and of course, Hex on Pulsechain when that launches. And of course, Zen as a possible speculative play, but high quality. And we may be surprised to the upside big time. And of course, the final one there is the combination of ASIC Pulse Bitcoin. Definitely looks like that could really do well. Although I'm a little cautious about the strategy of growth. But hey, they might surprise to the upside there. Yes, KD says yes, unless they release an app in the future. You mean like an extension on Chrome or something? Yeah, definitely. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to get in our Discord. Links in the video description. Cool information, good community in there. We've got Richard Hart chat and a Pulsechain chat for new projects. So you can get into either of those. Very cool place to be. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, hit the bell as well, because I'll catch you next one. Now, I will be doing more videos on the ecosystem, stable coins, and all that sort of stuff for Pulsechain. So stay tuned for that in the future. We're going to deep dive and bring it all together in one place so people can just all get all that information just like that. Bam. Brendan says, what's your thoughts on precious metal-backed stable coins? Yeah, I like them, but I mean, they're only going to do what precious metals are doing, aren't they, for the most part? So that's probably what I put that. There are some out there already. I used to look at them a couple of years back when they first got on the market. All right, so cool. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care. Subscribe, like, share, hit the bell. Don't forget to, if you want to join as a channel member, hit the join button. We've got 3 memberships, Pulsachins, Hexachins, and the Richard Hart Club. And, of course, we'll catch you on Discord. Take care, everybody. I will see you later. I've got 2 videos to do today, so I'll try and get those out as well. All right, take care. Bye for now. Let's play out some cool music on the way out. Let's play Richard Hart. Why not? Bubble Boy. Let's do Bubble Boy. He's the only one that counts. Bubble Boy is the only one that counts there. Let's play him on the way out. There we go. All right, bye.
Here in my $3,000 Valentino Rockstud purse, my $3,000 Prada jacket, $2,000 Prada shirt, $2,000 or $3,000 Prada pants, Prada glasses, Prada hat, Prada bracelet, and it's all Prada, 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 Prada shirt, Prada hat, Prada glasses, Prada pants, and it's all nylon, so the haters' tears fall right off. Product, 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 product shirt, product hat, product glasses, product pants, and it's all nylon, so the haters' tears fall right off.
Lil Bubble, let me ride that rocket.